This video was made possible by Good Better Best Tuition Services. Please subscribe to this channel for the latest videos. Today we are going to be discussing equations with fractions. This is our fourth lesson and this is for grade 8 and 9 maths. So before we do example 1, I want to quickly remind you about our basic rules for equations. The first one is that what we do to the left hand side we need to do to the right hand side, or the second rule is we want to simplify to the extent that is one term on the left hand side and one term on the right hand side, but also we want to make sure that our x's or our variables are separated from our constants. And then the last one is that we need to solve for our variable by multiplying or dividing. Let's look at the following example. X over 6 is equal to 5. Now 5 is a whole number and the denominator is 1. So what we need to do is we need to multiply out by our LCM. What is the LCM of 6 and 1? It is 6. Now why do we want to multiply out by 6 over 1? It's because we want to get rid of our denominator. We want to get rid of this denominator here of 6. We need to multiply x over 6 by 6 over 1. So the 6's will cancel and we are left with x. But we also need to multiply the 5 over 1 multiplied by 6 over 1. What does that give us? That gives us, so it's numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and that will give us 30. Therefore, x is equal to 30. Let's look at example 2. 3 over x is equal to 6. What is our LCM now? Our LCM is x, and that's what we are going to multiply out by. But remember, what we do to the left, we must also do to the right. So 3 over x times x over 1, x's will cancel, and that leaves us with 3 times 1, which is 3, and 1 times 1 is 1. That leaves us with 3 over 1, or just 3. Now we need to multiply the right hand side as well. 6 over 1 times x over 1 will give us, what is 6 times x? 6 times x is 6x over 1, or just 6x. What do we need to do now? We have 3 is equal to 6x, and we know that we need to solve for x. In other words, we need to get x alone. So we need to divide by the number in front of the x, which is 6. But what we do to the left, we must do to the right. So we divide by 6 on both sides, and this leaves us with 3 over 6, or a half. Let's look at example 3. b over 2 plus b over 3 is equal to 7. What is our LCM? Our lowest common multiple is 6. Now I want to remind you that our aim here is to get rid of the denominators. So we don't want to have to work with 2 and 3. So each term in this expression must be multiplied by 6 over 1. So b over 2 multiplied by 6 over 1 is going to give us what? b times 6 is 6b over 2, and 6b divided by 2 is 3b. And then b over 3 times 6 over 1, b times 6 is 6b divided by 3 is 2b. And then 7 times 6, because they are both whole numbers, is 42. Before we continue, you might be wondering why we are saying 6b divided by 2 is 3b and 6b divided by 3 is 2b. You might be saying, but Lucille, they are unlike terms. I want you to remember that we can multiply or divide unlike terms, but we cannot add or subtract them. So let's get back to our example. We have 3b plus 2b is equal to 42, and that leaves us with 5b is equal to 42. What do we need to do now? We need to solve for b. So we divide by 5 on both sides, And 5 goes into 42 8 times, and we are left with 2 over 5. Let's look at example 4. 3a plus 2 divided by 5 minus 2a minus 2 over 10 is equal to 4. What's our LCM? Our LCD is 10. So we need to multiply the entire expression out by 10. 3a plus 2 over 5 times 10 over 1. 5 goes into itself or divides into itself one time, and it divides into 10 twice. So what we need to do now is we need to say 3a times 2. Now we have negative 2a minus 2 over 10 times 10 over 1. 10 goes into itself once, and 10 goes into itself once there as well. That's going to leave us with minus 2a minus 1 times 1. So what we do is we write it out like this, minus 1, because don't forget that minus is in front of the entire expression. So it needs to be multiplied into the entire expression. And then 4 over 1 times 10 over 1 is 40. So what does this look like? This looks like the equations with brackets lesson we did yesterday. So we need to multiply out and then solve for x. So now we need to multiply in. 2 times 3a is 6a, 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 1 times 2a is negative 2a, and negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. Once we simplify, we see that 6a minus 2a is 4a, and 4 plus 2 is 6. That gives us 40, and 4a will then be equal to 40 minus 6, which is 34. So we divide by 4 on both sides, and we see that a is equal to 2 over 4, which is equal to 8 and a half. Let's look at our last example. X over 3 minus x is equal to 4 plus 3 minus x over 3. So our LCD is 3, and we need to multiply each expression by 3 over 1. So we have x over 3 times 3 over 1. The 3's will cancel each other out, and we are left with x. And then we have negative x over 1 times 3 over 1, which will give us negative 3x. So 4 over 1 times 3 over 1 will give us 12. And then we need to simplify this one. Let's just write down our other answers first. For the last one, 3 minus x over 3 times 3 over 1. Again, the 3's will cancel. We're left with 1. And we are left with 3 minus x times 1, which remains 3 minus x. So we have x minus 3x is equal to 12 plus 3 minus x, which simplifies into minus 2x is equal to 15 minus x. Where do we want our x's? We want our x's and our constants separated. So I'm going to take that negative x over to the left hand side, and it will become positive x. That leaves us with negative x is equal to 15. However, we need to solve for x. This means that we need to divide by the number in front of x, which is negative 1. And what we do to the left, we must do on the right. And we find that x is equal to negative 15. Thank you so much for watching with us. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and I hope that you are preparing well for your exams. Keep well, and we hope to see you again soon.